Welcome to the Privacy Mentor Podcast, your partner in the fight against identity theft, fraud, and cyber threats. I'm your host, Carrie Kursky. Thanks so much for joining us here for another episode of Privacy Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Carrie Kursky, and Valentine's Day was just this week. Let's talk about romance scams. There was a report that came out that said romance scams hit record highs in 2021. So with romance scams, the intent is for financial gain. The person's going to defraud you. They try to establish a relationship with you so that they can get some kind of a financial gain. Now, there's also catfishing out there. Now, catfishing usually is a little different, and there's not so much of the financial gain. It's just the person wants to be involved in like an online relationship, but they pretend to be somebody else. Maybe they, don't think they're pretty enough or good enough, or they want to hide their identity. There's all different reasons why people would catfish, but with that, there really is not much of a financial gain. But for romance scams, definitely. There's an episode, I think it's on Netflix. There's a series out now. It's called Tinder Swindler. And it's a really good one. If you want to see the inner workings of how these scammers are so successful and what they do, it is a great kind of documentary. It's a limited series. So yes, there are multiple episodes, but it's not like a regular series where there's, different seasons. It really, really gets to the heart of how these people are so successful. So how do these romance scammers find their targets? Virtual dating apps, that's a big one. Tinder Swindler, hence the name, is because he would befriend people on Tinder, and that's how he was able to do what he did. But some of them, it's just casual conversation. Somebody might start messaging you on Facebook or on Instagram or on Twitter or even on LinkedIn. So it's not just limited to these dating sites, and it doesn't always start off as being a romance relationship. Sometimes it could be a friendship that is established. And again, on the Tinder Swindler documentary, one of the women who was defrauded, it wasn't a romantic interest. She thought that he was a good friend of hers. They thought they were friends and they would hang out, because sometimes they would always say you can tell it's a romance scam because they never want to meet in person and everything is done, just through email or texting, and there's, very rarely actual phone call interaction. So in that case, he actually met them in person, and he would fly in his private jet and have picked them up, take them on dates, and it wasn't just all about at the beginning you giving this person money. He was wining and dining them in the beginning. It was almost like a pyramid scheme / romance scam. So these people are very good at what they do. They know what to say and how to say it. They'll always use a sense of urgency. And as far as to get you with the money issue, usually if they have an urgent business transaction, or they're trying to, they're an heir to a lot of money and they're having trouble getting it because of international financial laws. Or it could be that they're waiting on a wire transfer to come through, or maybe they have a trust, but they can't get access to it, or their family members cut them off the trust. There are all different types of excuses they're going to use. And sometimes they might say, yeah, I'm supposed to be getting this money in, but I have a problem with my bank account. So can we just use your bank account? Or there are some bad guys that are after me, and they're going to, I don't want them to take the money from this big business deal I'm trying to do. So can you set up, I'm going to send you this check. Can you deposit it in your bank account and then move the money somewhere else? Or all my credit cards got compromised. I'm in danger because I ended up doing business with some very dangerous people, and I can't use my credit cards because they'll be able to find me and track me. So can you put me as a authorized user on your credit card? There are all different types of things that these bad guys will use to try to get between you and your money, or you and your credit accounts. So this report about this increase in 2021 from romance scams, well, you got to think it's kind of a perfect storm, because with the pandemic, you have some people that are isolated depending on where they live, and they're home, and so they can't go out and hang out with people. So they start online conversations, and it made it really easy for these scammers to manipulate people. And some of the ways that they would hook these victims is they would lure them into bogus investments or especially cryptocurrency. That's another one because all you hear about is cryptocurrency. I mean, heck, even most of the Super Bowl ads were revolving around cryptocurrency. So the bad guys are taking advantage of the momentum. And they're trying to get people to invest into cryptocurrency. Or they might tell you, hey, I have this deposit, this check coming in, but I'm having trouble with my cryptocurrency account. Can you just get it? And then, you just take the check and then you just go ahead and buy the cryptocurrency and use this account and move it over here. There's even ATMs that you can use to buy cryptocurrency. Case that we had in, an elderly woman got a phone call saying she owed money, and they told her that she had to drive around to these ATMs and put money in. They were actually Bitcoin ATMs. And she drove around for hours to multiple places because they have a cap on how much money you can deposit or use at these ATMs in one session. So she drove around town for hours. And the only reason why they didn't get all of her money is because her arm was so sore from putting $100 bills into these machines that she gave up and went home. She said, I physically can't do this anymore. My arm hurts so bad. I mean, that's just crazy of how these bad guys can manipulate people into this. So a lot of these romance scams, it's not only romance, meaning a love interest. Sometimes it's through friendship or sometimes it's through business deals. So some other interesting things from this report. And this report, it's on the Federal Trade Commission's website. It was a press release or an article that just came out. And it said that the largest reported losses to romance scams were paid in cryptocurrency at a total of $1.3 million last year alone. And that was just the amount of loss or that was paid in cryptocurrency. There were still other ways to pay. So the number is actually much, much higher. But that was just the amount paid using cryptocurrency. And they said that number for 2021, it's nearly 5 times those reported in 2020 and more than 25 times that reported in 2019. So there was a huge surge in this last year, especially using the cryptocurrency. And the median individual reported loss using cryptocurrency was almost $10,000. So this is happening, folks. So again, don't think just because you're not looking for a love interest and you're not dating online, but yet you're starting these conversations. Because the whole point of social media is to get to know other people, engage in conversations, form friendships. Well, those friendships could end up biting you in the rear end. So you got to be very careful of who you're dealing with and what they're offering to you or what they're asking for. So what can you do to make sure you don't get conned by one of these romance scammers? Not just for those looking for love, it's also those looking for friendship, to develop relationships. So what are some of the things to look out for, the red flags? Well, first off, nobody legitimate is going to ever ask you to help them out by sending them cryptocurrency. If you hear the word cryptocurrency in the conversation, move on. Also, nobody legitimate is going to ask you to help them out by giving them the numbers on a gift card or by wiring them money. Anyone who does, it's a scammer, especially if you just met the person. If it's somebody you've known for many, many years and you have an in-person relationship and you've tried, you know them and their financial situation, that's different. Even that, you still got to use a bit of caution. But if it's someone that you recently just met and they're already saying, hey, I need you to help me and can you do this for me? That's a red flag. Never send or forward money to someone you haven't met in person. And don't act on their investment advice. Again, getting back to the cryptocurrency. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. A few years ago, it was the dinar. That was the whole big scam. It said, oh, if you buy put $100 in dinar and you're going to make all this money. And it was all just a great big pyramid scam. So just be careful with all that. Another thing to look out for, talk to your friends or family about new love interests and pay attention if they're concerned. Now, this is a big one. As a private investigation agency, over the years, we've been contacted by friends or family to investigate someone's love interest because they had suspicions about them. 100% of the cases we were asked to investigate, the love interest was completely fake. It was a scammer. Actually, one of them we found that he had left a trail of tears nationwide of women who he had stolen pretty much all their money. He would target women who were 40 and older, never been married. They were professionals, so they'd worked on building their career, never had time for a family. And now they were like, I really want a family and want someone to spend time with. He totally preyed on that. I mean, you could see every single one of his victims, they all fit the same MO. And one of the parents of one of these women reached out to us and said, there's something wrong with the situation, things he's telling us are not adding up. So we investigated it. And that's when we found multiple states where there were warrants out for this guy's arrest. Not warrants enough to where they could cross state lines. So that's why this guy would move around from state to state doing what he did. So if you have family members saying, something's not right here, I'm not sure about it, don't be dismissive. Don't get angry with them. They're looking out for your best interest. Listen to them. And also try reverse image search of profile pictures. This one is so easy to do. Take that profile picture, put it in there, and it'll come up and tell you where else it's being used. You might find that same profile picture associated with multiple names and different people. So that's another thing that you can do. So as we round up the Valentine's week here, be very careful with meeting new people online, because not everyone has your best interest at heart. They're after your money. They have their own best interest at heart. All they want to do is get between you and your money so they can live the life that they want to live without any care for who gets hurt in the meantime. If you have suffered a financial loss at the hands of a potential romance scammer, contact local authorities. File a police report. Let someone know. You can also contact the social media or dating app that you used and how this person reached out to you and report that person to them as well. That's it for today. Thanks so much for joining us, and we hope you'll tune in next week for another episode of Privacy Mentor. Thanks for joining me on another episode of Privacy Mentor. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, or anywhere else you listen to your favorite podcast shows. If you love the show, please share with your friends, and don't forget, give us a 5-star review. For additional information, show transcriptions, and notes, visit kursky.com/podcast.